Chairshot Reality on WrestleZone.com. You can also find us on Twitter as well as iTunes. Eisenberg, Ghoulish, LeBar. And we get to what started the week as the top story, and that was, of course, Daniel Bryan. After many months of speculation, wanting answers, officially retired from in-ring action, effective immediately. And guys, I guess the first, we can just reflect on the moment. I got to say, from my opinion, this retirement farewell speech was bigger than Shawn's, bigger than Rick's, bigger than Edge. Not to say that Daniel Bryan necessarily contributed more than all of those or each of those guys to wrestling, but because of the context, because of the fact, Edge, yes, while abrupt, he still had 15, years in WWE for that audience. Shawn and Rick, we knew it was coming, but Daniel Bryan, it kind of feels like we were part of that yes movement to get to the top of the mountain, and as soon as he got to the top of the mountain 2 years ago, it's been nothing but tumbling down since.
I don't think it's as surprising as Edge is, but it's definitely more impactful because, like you said, Edge did so many things before that, and everybody wanted Daniel Bryan to come back. And not saying that Edge still wouldn't have had a good 3-4 years left in him, but when you see Daniel Bryan retire after having such an incredible 2-3 years, it makes you think, what could he have done? Could he have done something differently? And I don't know if he could because his style is unique. He's full throttle, balls to the walls, 24/7. And every time he's in the ring, every move that he exposes himself to is a move that he's really going to get injured for. And his not reckless style, but I believe they say controlled frenzy for guys like Kofi Kingston. I think it's more controlled frenzy for him. Unfortunately, injuries caught up to him. 15 years in the business or 10 years in the business, 3 or 4 with WWE, well, maybe 5 with WWE, but those 3-4 years really showed you that Daniel Bryan was a superstar and didn't need a Ring of Honor. He was himself, and he always will be himself.
This year, this week, this episode, my 3rd year with Chairshot Reality. Imagine how fast time flies. 3 years ago, Daniel Bryan was on Team Hell No and was a world champion, tag team champion, and so much that had happened in that last 2.5 years before he had to step away after the injury. Now, my question to both of you is, though, I understand the segment on Raw, the overrun, and the hometown feel in Seattle, but I think they could have done something better. Give the man his own hour. Give it something on the network, a network special where maybe it's a Steve Austin podcast or he sits down with a Michael Cole, or there's something going on to where there can be reflections and memories of Daniel Bryan and make it a 1-hour special. I think that could have been a lot better.
There's 2 issues with that. One, you don't, while it's a very important moment that he's retiring, and certainly I think all of us shed a tear, at least I know I did. There's 2 options. One, you don't want to dominate. In your, the overrun's one thing and the network's one thing. You don't want to dominate. You're still trying to. You still got to build to what's making you money. And Daniel Bryan's not going to be in the ring anymore, so his value to you is now just going down in some regards. But the more realistic issue is Daniel Bryan made this decision. It was pretty abrupt. The production team was scrambling just to try to get all this video and everything together. So it's not like they had a great amount of time to really plot this out and plan this. I'm sure we will see Daniel Bryan on the Steve Austin podcast on the WWE Network sometime in 2016. I'm sure that we will see some kind of a special where the cameras followed him around for the bulk of Monday and maybe into Tuesday. I'm sure all that's going to come.
I think the retirement needed to be in the ring because what brought him to prominence, what brought him to the spotlight he's in right now is that organic and natural feel that the crowd was always behind him. He could have done whatever he wanted. He could have started the yes chant to be the most ignorant and annoying person, but because people respected what he did in the ring, and because he got the crowd over and the crowd was behind him all the time. This is when I look at him, when I look at the impact that he made on fans, I don't know if there's been somebody like that since The Rock, since Stone Cold, since those natural reactions from crowds.
You know what I actually liked?
What's that?
And I haven't watched any of them yet until this week. The ESPN segment, the Sports Center segment. That was a really good segment. It caught my attention. I said, listen, I want to watch this. I want to hear what he says with the coach who's been there with him for a lot of times, the stories he told. That's what I really want to hear. Tell me some of those stories. And there's going to be a few books to come out with Daniel Bryan.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The next question is where do we go from here? Because we know that I'm sure we'll see him at Access. I'm sure you'll still see him representing WWE at the Comic-Cons and the Wizard Worlds. But you know that WWE would have not. You know that there's no way. Obviously, he's still got whatever he has left in his contract. WWE wasn't just going to let him retire and then just cut him loose. They're going to try to still get back some investment, whether it's the money from those Thank You Daniel Bryan shirts to having him do appearances. But eventually that contract's going to run out, and I'm very interested to see. Does he basically decide to sign a Legends deal and be a lifer with WWE like the Steve Austins and the Shawn Michaels and the Ric Flairs? Or does that bug come back in? Daniel Bryan.
think so.
He's not
Daniel
going to wrestle
Bryan.
anymore.
Well, here's. I'm just going to say this. Daniel Bryan. He's not a manipulative person. He's one of the few wrestlers that's not into any BS, no political, nothing. When he says something, he means it, and I believe he meant every word of what he said Monday night. Everything's fresh. The news from the new doctor's test that he got. All of this is fresh right now. But what I want to know is that, let's say in 2 years from now, if he's not under WWE contract and he's 30, almost 36 at that point, and he feels good because he's had 2 years where his body hasn't been getting banged around. He feels good, and he's not under WWE's thumb anymore. If that comes to be, you know the offers are going to start coming in, and that bug's going to be itching.
No, if he were to wrestle, wrestles another match, it'll be in the WWE. It's not going to be in TNA or Ring of Honor. Listen,
Japan?
next year, Minneapolis, WrestleMania 33. 2 years from now, the new arena, the new stadium in Atlanta is going to open. Probably going to be 34. He'll come back for.
He's never wrestling again in a WWE ring. WWE will never let that happen. It'll be Japan or other places that say, "Hey, look, we'll throw you the money."
Hey, listen, things could happen in the next 2 years to where he has this miraculous recovery. It's happened
When
before. It can happen again.
When does he get inducted?
If he's still with WWE, I would say next year.
Unless Taker goes in next year.
Not this year?
What about The
No,
Rock?
you don't put him in this year because you have a guy. There's so few guys that right now that are legitimate headliners that you can build and sell a Hall of Fame around. And you don't want to waste that on Daniel Bryan by putting him as second fiddle to Sting, or you don't want to put Sting aside.
I don't think he's a headliner for the Hall of Fame.
You don't think he's a headliner?
I don't think Daniel Bryan is a headliner #1 for the Hall of Fame.
You don't think he's a headliner #1?
I don't think
wow,
this guy won headliner.
We were getting along lately.
This guy just made the bottom line of ESPN.
I understand that. I understand the relationship that WWE and ESPN has
together.
together.
You don't think that he would be a #1
You're the one that didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr. to be unanimous. Yeah, your ass is itchy.
Why? Tell me. Okay, I love Daniel Bryan. I've been a big fan of his. I understand that. What makes him be a surefire headliner of the Hall of Fame? Is he better than Edge?
Better question. What
is he
tells
better
me
than
that he's
Nash?
not?
I don't think he is.
What tells me that he's not?
Because he only had 2 or 3 really dominant years in WWE, and that doesn't tell me that he should headline a Hall of Fame class.
It was the most impactful 2 or 3 years somebody could make. Nobody.
Name the headliners from the past 5 years.
But the thing is, the only thing that justify,
does he stack up?
The only thing you justify your point is you're going to have Sting this year, you're going to have Undertaker in the next year or two, you're going to have The Rock eventually. So there's going to be more guys. So if you're is he first over The Rock? Is he first over Undertaker?
He might be 1A.
The Rock could have gone in years ago. They're waiting for The Rock for certain reasons. Undertaker, Rock, all this. It's just a matter of
1A.
It's a matter of he's going to be the headline next year.
He could be 1A, 1B, but he's not like last year. Listen, like last year. Yes, I do.
Are you trying to stir the pot just for
no? Like last year, who did you have in the Hall of Fame? Who were the 2 headliners? Macho Man and Nash. Yeah. Macho Man obviously made a bigger impact in the company than Nash
because he passed away. So they put him as the headliner.
So Daniel Bryan, I can see ending a Hall of Fame, but I think somebody bigger that may be deceased is actually the main headliner. You make more money off of somebody that maybe controversially comes in and they put into the Hall of Fame.
Who else is deceased that we're going to put in that's going to be the
for circumstances? Owen Hart. The circumstantial is Owen Hart.
No. See, and people are going to. I told you a little itchy. I'm kind of coming over here now.
No. Think about it like this, Justin. You're going to have Bret Hart and the entire Hart family there to speak for him, but you're not going to have Owen there, right?
I am not.
Daniel Bryan can end it, but Owen Hart has made a more impactful career. And look at Bryan on the side of the big guy.
As long as you agree with me that Daniel Bryan will be the guy that ends the Hall of Fame.
Yes, but he is not going to be the focal point. He's not going to be the Sting of a Hall of Fame ceremony where it's all about him.
So you're telling me he's going to be the WrestleMania where the world title match is before the Undertaker headlining his final match?
I have absolutely nothing. I have no problem against Owen Hart. I enjoyed Owen Hart's work.
Pulling Bryan over to my side mid-segment.
I have no problem with Owen Hart. And Owen Hart had some great matches, had some great years. But Owen Hart also, his memory is enhanced because of the tragic way his life ended and the controversy that his family has endured with WWE over the years. I don't think Owen Hart contributed as much and as fast and as hard and as memorable as Daniel Bryan has in the last 2 to 3 years. I'm not knocking Owen Hart. I'm just saying,
but different business and different times.
Wow.
But people want to see Owen in the Hall of Fame more than they're going to want to see Daniel Bryan in the Hall of Fame. If it's because of circumstances, that's okay. Whatever sells, it doesn't matter what the circumstances.
We'll go put a poll up on Twitter.
They're going to have all Bryan. I love Bryan. They're going to have all the Bryan marks.
I want to see.
Wait a year.
Is Bryan a headliner or not?
Good Lord. It's a loose term, Justin. Wow. It's a loose term with the loose morals.
Loose morals continue tomorrow when we talk about the world title.